And to the Medicare Cafe. As always, you're joined by your host, Olivia Richardson.
And I'm Mike, and today, like we alluded to about talking about auto insurance, we're talking about branding and why I think it's so important that you actually pay attention to this and do something about it. So
yeah, it's something that, again, we talk about when and it's one of the most underlooked at things as an insurance agent, because a lot of people just don't necessarily, you're so busy. Branding doesn't make you money. The only time we actually make an income is writing applications. Branding is something that you need to do. Every business should be focused on branding, advertising, and marketing. They all kind of go hand in hand. Good branding, especially if you're someone who's new in this industry, if you do a good job of branding, eventually it will lessen your dependence and eliminate your dependence on purchasing leads. And that's the whole goal of branding. It's completely underlooked, but one of the biggest points that'll make your agency get you business tomorrow, get you business in 30 years, and make your business worth purchasing. So whenever it comes to retiring, you have something that is worth making a purchase.
and it's more affordable than ever. It used to be you had to hire a full-blown either advertising agency or a professional graphic designer at a very substantial cost to do some branding. Now we're going to share some resources with you today that you can get done for almost next to nothing compared to what it used to be 10 years ago. But let's dive into this. It really is about standing out in the Medicare market. All your top people, top companies have brands that they rely on to make them stand out from the competition, like Coke versus Pepsi. They don't just say we're cola, because that's very easily confusable. Pepsi has their logo, Coca-Cola has their logo, same with fast food, same with cars. We'll take a look at some logos here shortly, but everyone has a logo because we're a very visual society. If we weren't, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all these videos / photo social media platforms would be obsolete because we wouldn't care about photos. But just the opposite is true. Our phones are basically fancy cameras that you can make phone calls on. We're a hyper visual society, so you need to make sure you're taking advantage of that with your own logo and branding.
For sure. You want to make sure, and again, to keep your name to equate with your service. You want to do what a good branding will do, is do what Kleenex did in the facial tissue industry, or what chapstick did in the lip balm industry. A good branding will actually equate your name with that service. So the purpose of good branding is to build that familiarity, to build to people to consistently see your message, to feel like they have a relationship with your agency, a relationship with your brand, but it's to make sure that you stay top of mind. So when there is a concern or is a question, they're not calling the Joe Namath ad. You're the first person that comes to mind.
Exactly. And your branding should do three things. You should connect with your clients and prospects. It should communicate your difference and then create value in yourself, i.e. your agency, whether you're a one-person show or you're a multi-agent or a big office. Having that brand tells people, hey, I'm serious about my business, and this is how we stand out. It could be with the colors, with your fonts, with your logos. All those things can make you stand out from the competition. Even though you're offering the same policies as your competition, the fact you have something built around it makes it valuable. Just like the Pet Rock. The Pet Rock was just a rock in a fancy box, but it worked because it had a brand associated to it.
And again, do not underestimate the value of familiarity. Again, that's why we talk about Coca-Cola or Pepsi. People prefer to buy those brands, even though RC Cola tastes basically the exact same, costs a huge difference, much, much cheaper. But Pepsi and Coke tend to always beat it out. Do not underestimate the value of trust. And again, we always talk about this. Familiarity equals trust. Trust equals sales. So the goal is here to build familiarity between your logo, your brand, and your clients.
Yeah, and we do it here at the Medicare Cafe. We have a logo. We have our colors. We have our logo, actual fit, that little image of the coffee cup. We have our tagline where agents drink Java and talk shop. So all those things we've been using for years. Hopefully when you see that mug, even if it didn't say Medicare Cafe on it, when you see that mug, that kind of teal and orange color, you think Medicare Cafe. Well, guess what? That's the power of our branding. So your logo could have your name in it. It may not. look at all your insurance carriers. United Healthcare has that shield looking thing that's kind of like a U with the 3 blades in it. If you saw that by itself, you would know it's United Healthcare. Now, granted, we're in the industry, but if you see other icons or logos that are in the market, you know exactly what they are, which we'll look at next.
And the reason why you know exactly what they are is consistency. Again, you have to consistently be putting out and putting the logo and the branding and the colors. You have to be putting that out in front of people consistently. I know Mike mentioned we're going to be looking at some branding here in a second, but you never mistake what the golden arches are. You never mistake what that little Nike swoosh is. But if you only see it once a year, it might be familiar to you, but you aren't really going to recognize that or see that and immediately think of fast food or immediately think of athletic apparel. So the only way that you build that correlation, the only way that you make that stamp is by consistent and constant pushing of your message, of your logo, of your branding.
Yeah, and like these logos all have nothing, they don't have their name in them. Unlike United Healthcare, which has United Healthcare, or Aetna, which is just lowercase Aetna with random colors, doesn't really have a logo, but their name, they actually transform into a logo. These actually have logos without their name, but we all know who they are because of millions and millions and millions of dollars in marketing. Toyota, McDonald's, Apple computers, Walmart. Even if you hate Walmart with a passion, you know that little yellow asterisk is Walmart. Starbucks, T-Mobile, Pepsi, they all have logos that have nothing to do with their name, but as soon as you see them, you're like, I know exactly who that is. There's no doubt in my mind that swoosh I see on someone's jacket is a Nike jacket, or that white mug with that green logo, I know that's a Starbucks item. So you need to have that same sort of feel with your clients. When they see that logo come through the mail or in an email or online, they know exactly, oh, that's my insurance agent, without actually seeing what it is. Now, it can be your name too, don't forget. You could have like Bob's Insurance Agency as your logo, but the point is you have to have that consistent graphic all over everything to build that familiarity.
And people aren't going to read it. They need to be able to see it and know that it's you. Even if they're not physically reading Bob's Insurance Agency, the graphic as a whole is something that they need to see and be able to relate to the product being yourself. Something else to keep in mind here, guys, all of these logos are extremely timeless. So that is something to keep in mind. If you look at, and all of these logos have gone through dozens of revelations, dozens of transitions. But keep in mind, the essence of the logo stays the same throughout the years. McDonald's has always had the golden arches. Pepsi has always had the 3 colors in the circle. T-Mobile has always been hot pink with the Times New Roman T. Apple has always obviously had the apple with the chunk missing out of it. So the logos are updated to keep up to what's not even trendy, because trendy is something that says like, it's popular right now, it'll be unpopular just as quickly as it was. But they stay up to date with what's appeasing to the times. But the essence of the logos remains the exact same throughout all the years. So again, it really does point to the importance of consistency in that message and in your logos.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, Olivia, Mike, that's great, but that sounds really expensive. Toyota, Starbucks, T-Mobile, they probably spent millions of dollars or have a gigantic staff of marketing that creates all this for them. And that's true, mind you, but as a small, and yeah, like Deborah said, a bow tie for Chevy actually was on here. I couldn't find one with the clear backgrounds. But anyway, you could do it for almost next to nothing. I'll show you how. So if you want to have a color scheme, there's a website called Colors. It's Coolors, actually, COOLORS.com. It's a free kind of palettes creating site. You pick a color and you hit refresh, and it will mix up colors that go along with those colors. So you could have a cohesive color palette with colors. Now, once you get your colors, or if you want to skip that, you can go to Fiverr, which we've talked about in the past, to hire, cheap social media graphics. You could do logo creation, which I'm about today. Other services are on there, but Fiverr with 2Rs.com, you can get a logo made for like $70. And you could scroll through various web designers or designers and determine which one you kind of like and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I want. And you could work with them on how many proofs you get, how many colors you get, etc. And I think the last time I used them, it cost me $70 to get a logo created with with color scheme. So if
Mhm.
you're thinking, wow, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars, it's going to cost you less than $100.
Again, I've used Fiverr several times in the past. It's excellent, great service, great quality. But again, you have to, I think the point of this is that you have to find value in creating that brand for yourself. I don't care, especially, if people say, well, I work with the entire community. It doesn't matter if you're in a town of 500 or a city of 500,000. Doesn't matter. It is truly that a good branding and good logo will help with referrals, will help with retention, and just help your agency grow. And again, like I mentioned, don't underestimate the importance of being that go-to source in your community. For both, if you're wanting to actually acquire downline agents, having a logo, having a brand that people are familiar with, make you more valuable as an employer. But number two is whenever you do want to retire and get out of the industry, having a logo or having a branding worth purchasing does add tremendous value to your agency, actual dollars and cents value to your agency. So again, investing in a very low cost with something like Fiverr will pay for itself in dividends, either when it comes to recruiting agents, recruiting admin, or again, selling your agency in the long run.
Yeah, now Terry said he did a Fiverr logo for $50 and they put their name on it. You could hire, like I said, the higher you pay typically, the better quality you get. That's not always the case, as we know, but again, I would go for, I know they have like different packages, a lot of designers that you could pick from. So it's a matter of, there's hundreds of designers on there. So kind of look through there, pick one you like. The other thing is, I know that Terry saying went to Canva. If you are very savvy with graphics and web design and such, not web design, but just design in general, great, make your own logo. But you want to make sure it looks good, because if it just looks okay, it's not exactly, doesn't stand out, it kind of looks almost like clip art-ish. People are going to look at that logo as either you didn't really care. So if your logo is bad, guess what? That means your service must be bad. Or if your logo is outdated, guess what? You must be very outdated and not up with the times. I don't want to use you. So that's why I think it's important to use a professional when you're doing all these things, unless you are really good at design. Again, I don't know everyone on here, their design capabilities. Canva does help with that, where you could get, you could have professional tools in there, but I would still recommend going to Fiverr or some service like that and having someone that's very, very well versed in graphic design do your logo for you. Because you could work with them and say, yes, I like this, no, I don't like that, and they're going to know the current trends, better design, have a lot more options for you than a standardized platform like Canva. Nothing wrong with Canva. I make a lot of stuff in Canva, but when it came to my own logos, I went to a professional and said, please do this. You could also look in your local market, maybe spend a couple more dollars, but use someone local that maybe could do more for you. So don't necessarily go to the internet, maybe look around, talk to your friends, family. If someone knows a graphic designer, keep it local, support your local community of artists and graphic designers as well. So lots of options, but still, I would definitely recommend at least looking at the professional side of things to get that professional logo so you stand out from the person that's using clip art from Microsoft Word.
I think it's important to realize, again, like Mike kind of hit the nail on the head there, is that just like anything marketing, anything when you're trying to build your name in the agency and you're in the industry, is that it could work for you or it can really work against you. So like he said, having a logo that looks out of date, a logo that's confusing, or logos with the wrong color scheme even, can actually be detrimental to your agency. So just agreeing with Mike there, that I think utilizing a professional who has actually done the research and knows and understands what it takes to stand out, what it takes to, what's appeasing to the eye. I mean, you'd be surprised how many millions of dollars Walmart spent to decide if they were going to go from the old yellow, tan, and brown color scheme to the new yellow, blue, and white color scheme. That wasn't just oh, we're done with this, we're bored, let's try something else. That was, they did spent millions of dollars on market research to see what colors actually went better and inspired more loyalty and more sales. So knowing that, again, even picking the colors can ultimately hurt or help your agency. Seems silly, seems dramatic, but it's true.
Yeah, and also again, it makes you look that much more professional versus somebody that just has lettering. When you have a logo, it looks like you're really serious with your business, which is a huge plus. And then if you're like, where do we get materials? Well, if you have a contract with Senior Marketing Specialists, we've got our AMP program, Agent Marketing Portfolio, which is free. And then you can upload your logo or your headshot to your materials to build that brand recognition. You know, if you look at real estate agents, they plaster their headshot on everything because while they work for a brokerage such as Remax or Keller Williams, they want you to use them. And the same thing applies for United Healthcare or something else. If you're working for an agency already, let's say you're a P&C agent that sells Medicare, you're working for farmers. Yeah, farmers want you to use their logo, but I would plaster my headshot over everything and spend a couple bucks and get a professional headshot. Don't use one where there's a crowd behind you or you're drinking a beer or something like that. Get a nice professional headshot that you could use across the board, across market materials as well. So just be smart about it. You know, look at other people's logos. What do you like? What do you not like? I personally would do something like United Healthcare, where I would have the name of my agency with a little logo thing. And that way you have two options. You could just use the logo on some stuff. You use a full thing. I would get multiple colors, white, black, gray, depending on what you're using it on. Because if you're putting it on something that has a dark background, having a black logo is not going to work real well because it's going to hide it. So you got to get one in white. I know when we rebranded at Senior Marketing Specialists, I have probably about 7 different logo colors from it, depending on how you're using it and the colors scheme that you'll need. And this is what a professional will do for you, is get you those different color palettes as well.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Don corrected me. It's colors.co, not com. Thank you for correcting me on that. I'm just used to typing .com, but it is colors.co. But again, fabulous website for, just finding colors. Even if you're painting your house, you could find similar colors to use accent pieces if you want to be all trendy and fancy like some people. So this is definitely what I recommend doing, is at least going to colors.co. Thank you, Don, for correcting. Playing with some colors, and then just go to Fiverr and look around. Just, you don't have to buy. You can go look at some different logos. You could also get some, I know that there's some people do like little videos where they'll like animate your logo for you and get stuff like that done. There's almost endless possibilities at Fiverr. So invest in yourself and invest in the image that your agency has in your community and online, and start looking at that stuff, and you'd be amazed what you could find.
For sure.
Now, this Friday at the Cafe, we're going to talk about on the Facebook page. You're bad at this, and that's okay. A little peek in the box is, I think one of the challenges in our industry, and I'm curious to hear Olivia's point of view on this, is we're constantly looking at success. So when we get a new product or service in our arsenal, we just think it should be instant success, and we don't realize that there is a ramp-up period to do that. So we're going to talk about how to do that this Friday.
I think for me, it's whenever a new product, a new idea comes into the industry. Obviously, anything new is scary, untested. You don't want to be the first one to utilize it. You also, again, anything new, you don't want to damage your relationships and damage your reputation by trying in something new. I think the number one reason why agents are afraid of the new is because they're afraid of the yes. They're afraid of if I present this product, what if they say yes? And now I have to go through the application, go through the process, and I've not done that before. So they want to know everything about everything before they actually present the product. I say there's 2 deaths to a sales agent: the fear of yes and the fear of the unknown. So fear, I guess the fear of yes and the unknown, and then number 2 is inactivity, which is not what we're talking about today. But I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on this Friday. Again, in order to go to the Facebook Friday Live, you just go to the Facebook page. Mike has a picture of that, what you should be seeing up there in the top left-hand corner. Medicare Cafe Facebook page. Go there at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. Mike does go live. If you want to get notifications when that happens, click the follow button on the Medicare Cafe Facebook page, and anytime Mike goes live or reposts something, you'll get a notification knowing when it's time.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this thing in the background, my guitar. I always joke, I don't play guitar, but I own a guitar. I pick it up once every 6 months to remind myself I own it, how bad I am, and put it right back down. So we're going to talk about that and how it relates to products and services you're offering to your clients and prospects. So join in for that each and every week at 9 a.m. Central Time. But I'm curious to know, if you have a logo, where did you get it? So while we're wrapping up today, if you have a logo that you did for your agency outside the realm of having a corporation do it for you, like a State Farm or Farmers Insurance or United Healthcare, do you have a logo, and where did you get it? So I'm curious to hear where everyone else did, or if you have a tagline. And I can tell you this, the CMS is very strict about having a title. Your title has to be like insurance agent or insurance producer or insurance sales agent or something like that. And so mine was always Mike Catorna, insurance agent, and then my tagline was specializing in Medicare. So you can't talk about Medicare in your title, but you can in your tagline. And that was kind of the loophole for the Medicare industry when it came to titles, was forget the title, just put it right underneath in italics, specializing in Medicare. And that cured all the people asking me for auto quotes or homeowners quotes or travel insurance. Didn't do any of that. I just did Medicare. So anyone else do something on their own, made in-house, Stephanie said. And again, if you have that graphic ability to do it, awesome. And there are programs out there that can definitely help you. I'm just saying, just make sure that I would maybe test it out with friends and family, say, hey, maybe give them a couple examples, which ones do you think? And I see that happen a lot online, where people are playing with 3 different ideas and they just do a census of their friends and family, like on Facebook or Instagram, some of that, saying, which one do you like better, 1, 2, or 3, and just doing your own little market research that way. So yeah. Brian said he has a graphic artist and referral group he's part of. Great. You know what? I would much rather work with someone local that I could shake their hand, have coffee with, get to build a relationship with, than some stranger with the internet, but you may not have that option. Oh, I'm not familiar with 99 Designs. I'm not, you know that, Olivia?
Not heard of it.
Well, I'm gonna have to do some Googling today.
But again, I think having a great logo, you can have the most beautiful logo with the most beautiful colors. It's a perfect, just chef's kiss worth of a logo. But if you're not pushing it out there, if you're not being consistent about it, if you're not sending out something to your client, doing your 7 contacts a year, or using ant pieces to push out and keep that logo in front of people, then it's really a waste of time, energy, effort, and money. So again, having a good logo is step 1. The rest of it comes from what you're doing with it, using it in your social media, using it in your newsletters, using it in your letters and other communications you have with clients and prospects.
Especially if you got a goofy name. Like my last name is Gatorna, which is, I always joke, is one of those names you spell more than you say because people look at you cross-eyed. However, tying it to a logo makes it much easier. Yeah, that I think, because when you see a funky name, you might be like, I think that's a person I do business with. And then their eye switches over to the logo. It's like, oh yeah, that's it. That's a logo I do business with. And then, oh yeah, that's a name. I kind of remember the name. I remember something funky, but I remember the logo, because that happens to me a lot. Who did this? Oh, I can't remember their name. It was something unique. But then you see the logo and it's like, yep, instant recognition. And that's a great way to do it. Or if you're Bob Smith or Judy Smith, Smith is a very common name, but you tie that visual cue to that name, and it instantly catapults you away from everybody else in a good way.
Stanley said that he had his 12-year-old daughter design it, which is very unique. So that he's gotten some great feedback from that. So yeah, whatever works, again, just making sure that whatever it takes that you can stand out, and something that looks good on multiple platforms. What looks good on your social media, what looks good on letterhead, what looks good on your t-shirt, what looks good through as a pocket or a socket on your phone, things that you can brand. Does it look great in multiple avenues? And having that too, where you can share your logo with people.
I would definitely recommend, anytime you're out in the field, I would wear branded items. Like Integrity, there's Integrity's eye. I know it's funky on the screen, but you see the eye in there. It's kind of an illusion. But that's why I wore the t-shirt today, because we have, there's a travel mug.
Mhm.
So all these things, if you're out and about, I would constantly wear something with your logo on it, because if you want to be known as the Medicare person in your community, you need to advertise. You can't expect people to be singing your praises if they don't know about you. So
Mhm.
I always got yelled at for wearing, when I worked for Humana, I had a bunch of Humana polos, and all Monday through Friday, that's all I wore was Humana polos, because you'd be surprised how many times you're in line at the checkout, at the grocery store, or pumping gas, or just doing out in the store, and people stop. Oh, you work for Humana? Yes, I do. And they'll stop you. But if you don't have that logo on you or that branding on you, they're not going to stop you and ask if you work at a random place. Of course not. So always have branding on you when you're out and about, and you'd be surprised how inexpensive it can be to do that. Especially for embroidery. A lot of your local places, you can bring your own shirts. You just pay the embroidery fee, and you have all these polos and all these t-shirts and all these things are now exclusive just to you. So highly, highly, highly recommend looking into that.
So any other questions, comments, concerns, threats, or promises, let us know. But again, branding and marketing in general as a really fun conversation. You have the ability to be very creative with it. It's again a really great time, but you just have to make sure, number one, consistency, make sure it's out there, understanding what the purpose is of a good branding and great logo. It does not happen without consistency, does not happen without, you constantly putting out your content.
Exactly. So if you have questions about branding, definitely let us know. Again, check out the AMP program on smsteam.net for options that you could have for free. You just have to pay for the printing, but if you have a logo, guess what? Slap it on there, and now you've got a beautiful professional design piece that no one else in your community will have, because your logo will be on there. So any more questions, please feel free to put them in the question area. We'll be on for another minute. Otherwise, you can always go to the Medicare Cafe agent group. Actually, in that group are the 2022 commission rates for MA and Part D plans that was announced, and those rates are in there. Congratulations, you are getting a 6% pay increase in 2022. Hooray! So check that out for if you want to see what you'll be paid this AEP and beyond for next year. That's all in there. Again, you got 6% bump. I think off the top of my head, I know PDPs are like 44 and 81 now nationally, and then MAs, of course, have that breakdown depending what state you live in. But so a little increase, a little more than the average, than the rate of inflation. I think the rate of inflation is like 3%. We're 6%, so we're doubling. Yeah, score. What? Thanks, Mary.
Awesome,
Yeah.
guys. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. We will see you guys Friday on when Mike talks to you guys about what you're not good at.
Yeah, which for me is a long list. It's a 4-hour presentation this Friday of what I'm not good at. Just kidding. So until next time, have fun, make money, and
give impeccable service. Thanks, guys.
thank you.